Thank you all for being here. I really, really appreciate y'all. We know you've got many, many choices, and we always appreciate you guys choosing spending some time with us. Welcome to Antifa Friday. A little bit of a different take today. We obviously in this space we highlight the news. That's what we do as political content creators and streamers. But there's oftentimes things that go uncovered and unheralded, and people who deserve credit while not ever asking for credit, and they get sucked up in the vacuum of the news cycle. So we're going to dedicate Fridays to what I like to refer to as unexpected angels. I'm not sure where in my life this term came up. I think it might have been a conversation with my daughter when we were younger, when she was younger, just about, the people show up in your life when you unexpectedly, or when you not expect it, or you might be an unexpected angel for somebody else, whether it be, just a gesture of kindness or help or whatever it might be. So you are likely, or hopefully have been, in a position where you might have been an unexpected angel for someone and not even knowing it, or vice versa. And our community has shown up many, many times for many, many people as a community of unexpected angels, and never asking for the recognition, but deserve to be recognized. And then members of our community has also shown up for yours truly, and other members of our community as well. So we're going to highlight some people that are out there, whether it be connected to politics or just a circumstance. So we're going to spend time every Friday identifying people who are unexpected angels. So there you go. Gifting. There is a gifting goal today. Please consider doing that. Please consider subscribing. We are 7 subs away from our next an active subscriber giveaway on Monday during our show. Programming note might have to start a little bit late on Monday, but I'll let you guys know. I'll do a promotional announcement. Also, programming note coming up later tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time. We'll go back to our roots of Facts After Dark. It will just be a general question: are you okay? A lot of stuff going on in people's minds. A lot of stuff that people, I'm sure, want to get off their chest. So please come back tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time, if you'd like to answer the question, are you okay? Oftentimes, it's just a platform for people just to kind of listen to other people's stories and maybe realize that maybe you don't have it as bad as you thought, or you just don't really have an environment where you can share. That's kind of the purpose of the show. So anyway, we are crowdfunded here. If you'd like to support what we do here, all of my various pay apps are all at FactsStillMatter, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. Thank you very much in advance for all of that. Okay. Oh, by the way, I always forget to do this. Don't forget, we are streaming on YouTube. And if you wouldn't mind, please consider subscribing over there as we build up our subscriber count. And everybody tap like crazy. We're struggling to get out of the FYP. For some reason, we have a difficult time getting rolling. We'll have to reconsider that for Friday's shows, but we'll see how that goes. And join our Discord too. If you need help, you'll find the link to the Discord. You'll find the link to all kinds of things that are in the link tree in my bio. Please head on over there. So you can be a member of our community, and who knows, maybe you'll be an unexpected angel someday without even knowing about it. All right, so we need to kind of close the loop. I'm not even going to say close the loop, but we need to discuss a few other things as it relates to the horrible events in Texas over the weekend. The death toll now over 120 at last check. Excuse me, but when people are, how do I want to say this? Finger pointing is something that happens a lot these days, obviously, and I think in many, many cases it's justified. It's not about. I got ratioed over the weekend from a comment that I made because I just didn't like the language that someone used in regards to the events that happened in Texas. Voting has consequences, right? The people that you continue to vote for, who are not delivering on the things that you expect them to or that they promise you, and you continue to vote for that, that is a consequence. Now, we had a long conversation with someone earlier this week. Myself and Obi spent almost 2 hours talking to a young gentleman who's kind of growing up or attempting to grow up, and has got a very myopic view of life. And we discussed about how the system in our country doesn't support its citizens. Like, we don't invest in education. And he's saying, well, we're losing ground to the rest of the world. And we're like, yeah, we agree. And he's like, well, how come international students are getting all these positions in prestigious colleges and university? It's like, well, because we don't fund and support education, all those kinds of things. So we know the circumstances in Texas. I'm not saying could have been prevented, but every bit of evidence points to the fact that there were monies that were made available to address the lack of infrastructure in that particular area. And many people in those communities, thank you, Swish Raiders, appreciate you guys. Swishy Raiders, love you guys. Thank you all very much. Hearts in the chat for Swishy Raiders, please. There were people that refused to take money from the Biden administration just because it was the Biden administration. And that's just selfish, and that's just irresponsible, and those things happen. And, then we have Greg Abbott, and I'm going to talk about Greg Abbott, another ridiculous story, and we'll get into that in just a minute. But don't forget, this is what he said just days after, or within a day.
You ask, I'm going to use your words. Who's to blame? Know this. That's the word choice of losers. Let me explain one thing about Texas. And that is, Texas, every square inch of our state cares about football. You could be in Hunt, Texas, Huntsville, Texas, Houston, Texas, any size community, they care about football. Every football team makes mistakes. The losing teams are the ones that try to point out who's to blame. The championship teams are the ones that say, don't worry about it, man, we got this. We're going to make sure that we go score again, that we're going to win this game. The way winners talk is not to point fingers. They talk about solutions. What Texas is all about is solutions. Who is to blame here? You ask, I'm going to...
So, Greg Abbott not willing to take any responsibility. And this is what, in my opinion, this is what leadership is supposed to be about, right? If you're a true leader, true leaders are the ones who say the buck stops with me. If I'm not doing the job to help my employees or my customers or my community, and I'm in the position of leadership, the buck stops with me. And somebody find me a Republican leader, prominent, that we see in spaces around the country that is willing to literally take responsibility for anything. I'll wait. No, it's just one big blame game. And the left can do it too. The difference is it's calling out things that should have been addressed and weren't. It's not that the goal, much like we talk about this in terms of school shootings, right? We have these conversations around, and it's always immediately after. Remember, we went through that exercise yesterday about public opinion. Public opinion nationwide supports responsible firearm legislation, raising the age to purchase, universal background checks, et cetera, et cetera. Elected officials in red states have the opportunity to address the will of the people. Their own citizens say, we want these things. Why don't we have them? That's a failure in leadership. That's also a failure of the voters for not voting the people who aren't leading out. It's not really that complicated, right? It's really that simple. If you want these things, and again, public opinion tells us, yes, the majority of Americans, not just blue, not just independent, but red as well, that want these things, and you're not getting it, then why? That's on the voter, and that's on the lack of leadership. Now, we talk about this often in this space. We are obviously very engaged in the day-to-day of our political space. I'm a political content creator and streamer, and people join us here to get news, and we talk about a lot of other things. So we can't expect everyone to know or to be as tuned in as we are. In fact, I don't recommend it. Not good for your mental health. Reminder again, Are You Okay? Tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. But there is a level of responsibility for each of us to be sure that we know what's happening. And this is where disinformation and misinformation comes into play, right? So people on the right are literally attempting to blame the Biden administration for the events that happened in Texas, saying it's FEMA's fault. When we have, let me do this, because there's some sound from Kristi Noem that I think you need to hear. Primarily because it speaks to exactly what we were just discussing. And I don't know the defense of this. So I'll play the sound first. This was, again, another cabinet meeting. By the way, I was looking this up. Historically, cabinet meetings are like once a month at the most, but generally speaking, they're like once a quarter for a cabinet meeting. Trump has them like every few days, and I think it's because he just needs his stroked. Do with it what you will. And he's always surrounded by the most sycophantic of his cabinet members. So in this picture, it's Trump shouldered by Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio, and then Howard Nutlick and Pam Bondi. And then Kristi Noem is a seat and a half away. So it's anyway, I'm going to play this sound from Kristi Noem, and then we're going to talk about, by the way, the crocodile tears here, so buckle up.
I had walked through the cabin where all the little girls died, and I had kind of fallen apart in there, but I walked out of the cabin, and a gentleman was standing there, and he said, that man over there needs a hug. My little girl was in that cabin, and he said, and I just found her best friend about an hour and a half ago. She had passed away, and he just fell apart. And so then we just hugged and talked for probably an hour. Very emotional, but also just so tragic. Just hugging and comforting people matters a lot. I'm extremely grateful for God's hand in that whole situation, because hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people were saved. And this is a time for all of us in this country to remember that we were created to serve each other. God created us to take care of each other. And that when we do that, we are happier.
Okay. So that's Kristi Noem. And I don't know how she can look at herself, because I want to play, now I want to follow that up with the sound from Caroline, because I think that's necessary too, if I can find it. I lost. Here we go. Okay, so that was Kristi Noem, right? Talking about her I don't know, attempt at gaining empathy from people or whatever, to try to show that she may actually be a bit human. But this is Triple K Caroline.
Democrat elected officials are trying to turn this into a political game.
Her argument was it's Democrat elected officials are the ones that are turning this into political. That's how the statement started. Here you go.
Democrat elected officials are trying to turn this into a political game, and it is not. This is a national tragedy, and the administration is treating it as such. We know the National Weather Service provided early and consistent warnings. They gave out timely flash flood alerts. There were record-breaking lead times in the lead up to this catastrophe.
What's a record-breaking lead time? I don't know what that is.
Ongoing flood monitoring, and these offices were well staffed. In fact, one of the offices was actually overstaffed. They had more people than they need. So any claim to the contrary is completely false.
Okay. I wanted to paint that picture for you because there's reporting now, because again, Kristi Noem, whose responsibility the Department of Homeland Security controls FEMA. Now, we know directly, and we'll talk about that. I've got some details from Project 2025 as it relates to FEMA and NOAA and the National Weather Service. Part of the reason that, or one of the elements that the Trump administration, Trump campaign ran on was, remember, the deep state, unelected bureaucrats, government's too big, a bureaucratic nightmare. Okay, so this reporting by the AP. A monstrous floodwater surged across central Texas late last week. Officials at the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, leapt into action, preparing to deploy critical search and rescue teams and life-saving resources like they have in countless past disasters. But almost instantly, FEMA ran into bureaucratic obstacles, 4 officials told the AP. As previously reported, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, whose department oversees FEMA, recently enacted a sweeping rule aimed at cutting spending. Every contract and grant over $100,000 now requires her personal sign-off before any funds can be released. For FEMA, where disaster responses costs routinely soar into the billions, as the agency contracts with on-the-ground crews, officials say the threshold is essentially pennies requiring sign-off for relatively small expenditures. Think about $100,000 when you're trying to mobilize the federal government's response and then working with on-the-ground contractors. You're going to spend $100,000 just in, paper towels to try to get to the scene. In essence, they say the order has stripped the agency of much of its autonomy at the very moment as its help is needed most. Quote, we are operating under a clear set of guidance. Lean forward, be prepared, anticipate what the state needs, and be ready to deliver, a longtime FEMA official told the AP. That is not as clear of an intent for us at the moment. For example, as Central Texas towns were submerged in rising waters, FEMA officials realized they couldn't pre-position urban search and rescue crews from a network of teams stationed regionally across the country. In the past, FEMA would have swiftly staged these teams, which are specifically trained for situations including catastrophic floods closer to a disaster zone in anticipation of urgent requests, multiple agencies told the AP. The question is why? So in every other previous disaster, they were able to stage, get people ready to go in and help when the time came. As Texas crews raced to the scene to save lives, FEMA officials realized they needed Noem's signature before sending those additional resources. Noem didn't authorize FEMA's deployment of urban search and rescue teams until Monday, 72 hours later. Again, the question is, who is responsible? And from everything that we've seen, there is a massive breakdown from the National Weather Service, because the National Weather Service sent out, remember we went through the timeline, sent out the notifications, sent out the warnings. The problem is there was literally nobody to pick up the phone. And Kristi Noem and her agency, DHS, changed the rules. They said, you need my approval on anything above $100,000. The way that this looks, you're talking about billions of dollars to respond to natural disasters, whatever they may be. Some are significantly more than others, obviously, but we're talking billions of dollars. Imagine, we're talking $100,000. I mean, that's pennies compared to the full extent of what's necessary to help people in these situations. 72 hours later, before FEMA, yeah, it's Noem, you're right. I call it Noem because it's annoying. 72 hours later. And then Kristi Noem says this.
Where all the little girls died, and I had kind of fallen apart in there, but I walked out of the cabin and a gentleman was standing there and he said, that man over there needs a hug. And so I walked over to him and I hugged him and I said, do you work here? And he said, no, my little girl was in that cabin. And he said, and I just found her best friend about an hour and a half ago. She had passed away. And he just fell apart. And so then we just hugged.
Anyway, you get the point. So how do we square this, right? Because we know that the media machine and the propaganda engine coming out of the White House is going to deflect. Record-breaking response times. What the fuck hold on. What the fuck is a record-breaking response time? I still don't know what that is. What is a record-breaking response time? I've never heard of such a thing. Did I get rid of that sound? I probably did. Doesn't matter. Yeah, it's right here.
Elected officials are trying to turn this into a political game, and it is not. This is a national tragedy, and the administration is treating it as such. We know the National Weather Service provided early and consistent warnings. They gave out timely flash flood alerts. There were record-breaking lead times. Okay,
that's all well and good. The National Weather Service at the hub did their job. They got out. They got notifications, the early warning systems. We know that there's no cell service in that area. Why? We know that there were funds available to improve the infrastructure in that area that was not used. Why? We know that Kristi Noem made a policy in her agency that said unless it's below $100,000, you need my signature, and that didn't happen for 72 hours. So can somebody please accept responsibility Can Christy Noem stand up there and say, that was on me? We need to address that policy? Because if that's the case, and this is in Texas, bright red Texas. This is in Texas. What do you think happens in, I don't know, Massachusetts or Illinois or California? And then Charlie Kirk is saying it's DEI. I'm not even going to play his sound because he's so fucking annoying. So that's kind of, this is where we sit now in this space. How do we navigate through this, right? When people are just unwilling to take any responsibility whatsoever. Any responsibility. I've got a lot more to cover off on that, but I have a guest request. Brandon, how are you this morning?
Brandon? Something more productive on a Friday than complain about politics. Come on. Like, do research on the stock market or something. Go do research on the stock market or something. Stop complaining about politics. Good grief, seriously? Is this all you do all week, all day long? Like, go do something enjoyable. If you do this, you're just going to be miserable in life.
I'm waiting for you to say something intelligent. So I guess that's not going to happen.
I did.
Have a good day. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Dear God. How are people so disconnected from reality? I don't even.
Yep. I think he wants to get invited to my thruple ceremony, Jess, quite frankly. I think he's feeling a little bit jealous.
Good Lord. How are you? Happy Friday.
Same to you. Thanks for being here. How's it going?
All right. I just made a video about SNAP because obviously I've been hyper-focused on the Medicaid side of this thing, but the SNAP stuff is going to be equally awful. And I was just, I actually was fortunate enough to have some local people do a very thorough research on both the food bank impact as well as the state funding impact for this area. It's not good. Also,
yeah,
like the
I don't know if you
poverty level is wild that we have set right now. That too.
Agreed. Yeah, I think the numbers, like at least as it is sits today, like 40 million people in America live below the poverty line.
I mean, yes, but here's the kicker. It's more than that because the poverty level set at the the poverty level set at the federal level is an individual making over $14,000 a year is not poverty, according to the federal government. A family of four making over $32,000 is not poverty. The ALICE, which is a more fair assessment of the poverty levels based on inflation rate, based on cost of living, actually doing metrics that make sense, ALICE has those numbers at 3 times that value. So the reality is that the federal poverty level that tells us, 40 million are in it, that's all fake news, as people like to say, because if you actually looked at the legitimate federal or the poverty level based on inflation rate, cost of living, cost of services, all of that, it's probably 3 times that amount. I guarantee you that we have almost, I would say probably 35 to 40% of our population is living in poverty based on the ALICE rates, which are more accurate.
I think that's probably right. And the worst part about it, and I know you know this, Jess, conservatives would say, well, then just go out there and get a second or third job instead of demanding universal basic income, for example, or demanding that we have perhaps a more socialized approach to how people can have access, to food, clean water, shelter, healthcare. So fucking radical. So radical.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, and then literally I made my video. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a video that I made. I kind of made my own ad, but it's a video of me dancing in my kitchen with my 3 girls 10 years ago. And I'm doing a voiceover and then I kind of talk about present day. Yeah. So I have someone in the chat going, you worked full time and got benefits. Sounds like fraud to me. And I'm like, sir, I worked 32 hours a week, which was all my company would give me. I made $15 an hour, well above the $12.75 minimum wage and double the federal minimum wage. That equals to $24,469 a year for a family of four, which means I, based on our qualifiers in Virginia and the federal government, qualify for Medicaid and SNAP. Maybe you should be fighting harder for livable wages instead of fighting
Preach.
so hard to rip food and healthcare out of the mouths of babes and their parents.
Preach.
Like you, and then having a religious quote is just like chef's kiss, epitome hypocrisy for me.
It is. It is. Again, the entire thing, I mean, every single day we could have an entire show dedicated to hypocrisy, the examples thereof, right? But you're absolutely right. Why not fight for the things that should matter? I mean, again, the party, and this is, like you just said it, the religious hypocrisy that connects to it about, especially the fake Christians that are out there. And yeah, I'm talking to you, fake Christians, who you care about families, and you care about kids, and you care about this and that, and yeah, you don't give a shit. You'll vote literally to kick people off of healthcare. You will vote literally to remove SNAP benefits from children. You're cheering on human beings put into concentration camps. And yes, that's what it is in Florida. You're cheering that shit on. Where the fuck are you? Why are you not defending rights? So I'll give you an example. So Jess and I, we care more about your kids and your families than you do. We do. We do. We care more about you and your future and your kids' future and their kids' future than you do. Us radical leftists. Imagine that.
Well, let's talk about the fact that, and you just pointed to it. You want to kick all these people off healthcare. Where is the kickback that you're getting from doing that? You're not getting any. Your rate of tax return, not changing. It's literally retroacting back to the 2018 one that was minimal. The highest that the top, 60 or 70% of, or the highest that the 60 to 70% of income earners that are like medium, average worker class is going to see per year is $1,000 a year. Meanwhile, the highest earners, the top, 5% of the nation's people, billionaires and millionaires, they're going to see $10,000+ annually added to their pocket. So we're adding roughly $3 to $5 trillion to our deficit. So explain to me how the Republicans did anything beneficial for you. So they've taken benefits from people, the least of us, and convince you that it's removing it from undocumented, which is bullshit. I literally had an argument online this morning where a guy's like, they did these changes to get illegals off of Medicaid and SNAP. I said, sir, how is it you are the same person that says that the undocumented immigrants here aren't paying taxes or Medicare or Social Security, but somehow they've managed to have documentation and paperwork and a work stub to go apply at social services for Medicaid and SNAP. Are you that incompetent?
It's a great point.
I am flabbergasted at the ability of rich politicians and media personalities being able to gaslight you into believing the most ignorant shit. It is so depressing. So depressing. You will yell at me at the top of your lungs, they're not paying taxes, and then turn around and go, well, they showed their work stub and got Medicaid, and I'm paying for it. No, they didn't. Pick a fucking lane. My brain is about to explode. I swear to God.
I know.
I'm so glad that real people on the ground don't sound as incompetent as people on the internet, but it's the fact that the people on the internet exist and they believe these things. They just don't have the emboldenedness to actually say that shit in real life. That's the only caveat.
That's the point right there. And like I said this to start the show, I'm not sure how long you've been listening, but obviously most people are not as well, connected and or informed to politics as we are. There are people who do this and people who talk about it, people who are running for office. Obviously, you need to be prepared. So most people just kind of walk and go through the motions, and they're literally just following the lead, literally, which is why we talk about MAGA and Republicanism. I've seen recent polling that prior to the 2024 election, they used to say around 30% of the Republican base was considered MAGA. It's now like 70%. So that's what we're fighting against. A massively uninformed
populace.
Electorate. People that are just going to blindly follow whatever Trump tells them. And again, from a marketing and strategy perspective, I have to give credit where credit's due. They've been able to convince tens of millions of Americans that this is the right way to go.
Yeah, I
And
mean, they
that's,
have convinced him to punch down while
correct.
they're like, look at those people. Don't mind us. We're just going to siphon all of your taxpayer dollars into the richest people that already could buy you and sell you day in and day. Like, no, but there is no world that anyone should be have access to $1 billion as an individual. There is no
Correct.
world where that should ever exist.
Did you hear? I don't know if you heard this last week. I was talking about within the next 3 years. There's apparently there's going to be 5 trillionaires, and would be the names you'd expect.
Oh my God!
You'd be
Elon
Larry
Musk,
Ellison
Peter
and
Thiel,
Elon Musk, and that group of people.
David Sachs,
and they talked about and they talked about what $1 trillion could buy you. You could buy every basketball, every NBA franchise, NHL franchise, MLB franchise, and NFL franchise 3 times over. You could then buy Taco Bell, Ford, General Motors, and another large company, and still have $10 billion left. That's how much $1 trillion is.
I love this comment, knick-knack. Funny, Kamala had twice the millionaire donors. No, she didn't. Here's what you don't understand, and this is the part that makes my brain literally melt. So when they compare dollars to dollars, they're looking solely at Harris and Biden's campaign funds, okay? They are not looking at the fact that Trump had multiple PACs. They're only looking at his campaign. The difference between Democrats and Republicans is all of their money was being funneled directly into Harris's campaign PAC, where you were
Correct.
seeing it in the spend. You were looking at Donald Trump's individual campaign PAC. You weren't looking at the other 5 PACs that he had for his campaign alone. You weren't looking at the Musk PAC that was created, or the other PACs that were created for dark money funneling and literal foreign money that were being spent on his campaign. You guys do not understand how corrupt the electoral process with campaign finance is, that you have been, again, fed this bullshit like Elon Musk donated to Trump. David Sachs, who was on his fucking cabinet, donated to Trump. Peter Thiel paid JD Vance's way and donated to Trump. Mark Zuckerberg
Correct.
donated to Trump. Like, all of these people donated through various PAC organizations. They are the richest people in the nation.
Just look at the inauguration. Look at the people that were sitting behind him during the inauguration.
Yes.
The people on that list that I just described, those people that will be trillionaires within the next 5 years, half of them were there.
I mean, and I can name one that people don't even know, like Robert Uline, who owns Uline Industries. He is one of the most biggest prolific billionaires donating to Republicans. There's the Koch brothers. Like, the list is lengthy of the millionaires and billionaires that are in bed with Republicans, and they are making the politicians on that same party line rich as fuck. Do you know that I just found out, because we did opposition books, my opponent, who literally sides with Youngkin and all except for everything, she has some of her highest dollar investments in Chinese stocks.
I'm not surprised.
And then on top of that, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, and here's an example, MAGA, where Jess and I can be objective. We both believe that there's way too much money in politics.
Oh God, yes.
And
take it all out.
Citizens, exactly. So that's us being objective. Now you guys can sit there and complain, "Oh, Dems do it too." Like, yeah, we know, we understand. Yep. We want, but if you can literally find OpenSecrets.org. You can go there and you can look at dark money, and you can see that the overwhelming majority of dark money. It's not my opinion, not Jess's opinion. This is facts. Overwhelming majority of dark money in Washington goes to Republicans, primarily in the Senate.
Yep.
So do a little bit of research. Stop being so fucking lazy. Sorry.
And also, and it's like both of us, you and I both agree, like I agree with term limits. You and I both agree that we have establishment politicians on both sides of the political fence. And I have conversations with people, voters, and they loved it. I say this, both sides of the fence that have been lucky enough to be stuck in gerrymandered positions of whether deeply blue or deeply red seats that simply get by and keep their position of power through a lot of fucking money and simply having the DRR in front of their name in the district they reside in. People have quite literally moved with the millions that they are worth into a bluer or even a redder district that aligns with them to make sure they can maintain power. Like, I have a problem with this across political lines. And when we look at the congressional level, it has become so fucking corrupt across the line.
Agreed.
I mean, I want all of these old fucking dinosaurs that have been in Congress for decades to get the fuck out of there.
Agreed.
Bring
Me
in
too.
some new, younger voices that want to move us forward in a direction that actually benefits the whole and not benefits the millionaire. But we
Progressives.
agree with that, and
Yep.
Republicans agree with us, and yet they have been so gaslit to believe that every Democrat is some raging leftist lunatic, radical communist Marxist, that they can't see past their fucking nose to realize you're getting played, motherfuckers. You are
Even though
getting
they don't.
played.
Well, even though they don't know what any of those things mean. Do you wanna plug your campaign while you're here, friend?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. I'm just I'm raging right now. I'm so sorry.
It's all right. I got you.
Yes, if you want to support a non-leftist lunatic, no, I'm just kidding. No, running for Virginia here in the House of Delegates, in the 71st district. We have elections this November, 2025. We are coming before the midterms, so don't sleep on elections every year. But yeah, running again for the second time. All of my links are in my link tree from my website to my ActBlue. Running while I have more infrastructure this year, which is fantastic, I'm still running a true blue grassroots campaign, knocking 300 plus doors a week. Having every event and being at every event humanly possible. I was at 3 events yesterday. I've got 4 on the books today. Just doing the work and hoping to flip this red seat blue. It has not been represented by a Democrat since pre-integration, which means that technically it still wasn't represented by a Democrat.
Wow.
So looking forward to changing that this November.
Well, I appreciate you. Every time you come up, you're one of the first people that I saw on TikTok, and I was like, wow, this is cool. What an awesome person. And I immediately followed you, and I remember you followed me back, and I kind of fanboyed a little bit. So I'm glad we've become friends. You've got a space here anytime you want to come and talk and rage, whether it be rage bait or just yell and scream, you can do that. Or just promote your campaign. You're always welcome here, friend. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, Steve. All right. Have a fabulous Friday.
Day. You too. See you
Thanks.
later. Bye.
Bye.
That's great. Doing the work. Somebody had requested. So, okay. We'll get back to our topic today in just a moment. A few folks who wanted to talk. Good morning, John. How are you today?
Hey, good morning. I had a question for you. So, you guys were talking about a livable wage. Just curious on your thoughts on this. So you got states like California and New York where we'll just use, I guess, California, for example. I would say the average cost of living is around, I don't know, I think 50,000 is the data point, somewhere 50,000 and change. However, the minimum wage doesn't align with that. States have the ability to change their minimum wage. How come blue states aren't upping their minimum wage?
They are.
Oh,
the federal
minimum. So California is changing to $25 an hour?
Well, that's not the question you asked. The question is like, if you want the minimum wage to be higher, that's different, but you can't, it's two things. The claim was, why aren't blue states raising their minimum wage? And they have. If the argument is it's got to be $25 an hour, I'd rather have a federally mandated minimum wage where it applies to every state.
Sure. So California's cost of living is different than West Virginia. California's cost of living.
Why though? But why is California's cost of living higher?
Well, they do have higher taxes. That's one reason.
No, why though? But why does California, for example, have the 4th biggest economy in the world? Why is that?
Because it's a beautiful place to live. You have Hollywood.
Sure.
You have a lot of businesses there. Sure. What's your point?
That's the point.
Okay.
There's a desire for people to live there, right? And they also have a broad social safety net. They have protections for workers. There's a lot of reasons why people live there.
Okay.
What's the draw to live in? What's the draw to live in West Virginia?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to live there. I'm not debating where I want to live. My question is, why doesn't California then just raise their minimum wage to $25? Why do they have to do it at a federal level?
That's a different argument. You can make the case as to why individual states don't. Again,
I'm not arguing. I'm asking you a question. It's just a simple question.
And I'm trying to answer you. I'm trying to answer you.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say to you is that I would prefer that we approach this at a federal level. Like, why is the federal minimum wage $7.25?
Because states can make their own minimum wage. No.
It's not the question. We're talking federal. Let's separate the two for a second. I know you're on this libertarian pick. Let's separate the two for a second, okay?
It's not a libertarian. Stop avoiding the question.
I'm not avoiding it. I'm trying to focus on the federal.
Okay.
No, I'm talking about two separate things, okay? Why is the federal minimum wage still at $7.25?
Because it's below all the other states, and some states don't have a higher minimum wage. So if you live in that state, you should advocate for a higher minimum wage to your cost of living.
No, why is the federal minimum wage $7.25? You didn't answer.
I just answered you. Yes.
No, you didn't. Federal.
Yes, I did.
Federal minimum wage. Why is the federal minimum wage still at $7.25?
Yes, because that's for some states that don't have a higher minimum wage. That's the one they use.
So $7.25. So $7.25. How much is that a year? How much would a person on $7.25 make a year?
Hold on.
So we can roughly, let's run it to 40 hours, 280 a week, so 560, so $1,100 a month, like $13,000 a year, $14,000 a year. Okay, significantly below the poverty line, like significantly below the poverty line. So again, why isn't the federal minimum wage? How come there's been no legislative action on a federal minimum wage? I know the reason why. I know the reason why. Do you know the reason why? So I came up
and asked you specifically about states, and you wanna move to federal. So again,
because it's part of the conversation. It's part of the conversation,
no, it's not.
right?
It's not part of my question. Okay, so
I don't care. It's part of the. I don't care if it's part of your question. It's part of the conversation. Why do you think there's not been an increase to the federal minimum wage? Why do you think that is?
Because
I know why that is.
Yeah, Republicans.
Exactly. Why? But why do they stop it?
Because they prefer the states to set their own minimum wages.
They prefer, and then in Republican states, do they address it?
No,
they don't. So then, okay,
I don't care.
So that's the answer to your question.
But do Democrats address it? Do Democrats address it? Okay, so California. So California, answer to me why California, their average cost of living is $50,000, but their minimum wage is $15, which is $20,000 below their cost of living. You guys run that state. Why
California minimum wage is $16.50 per hour. It goes up to $19.90 in 2 years. Then it goes to $21 in 4.
And what's the average cost of living in California?
That's not the question, my guy. You answered why is it not higher, and I'm telling you it is. It's an incremental change.
But you want hold on. This is. I think I'm breaking you, dude. This is the problem.
Trust me. You're not smart enough to break me. You just want to try to own the conversation. I just did answer your question. I just did answer your question.
Hold on. If Democrats want to have everybody have a fair living wage, how come in Democratic states where they run it, they don't raise the minimum wage to a fair living wage?
They do, my guy.
Okay, California's average cost of living is $50,000.
Who did you vote for?
Doesn't matter.
It does.
What does that have to do with my question? Answer it.
Because I need to know. I have to understand your political ideology. Who did you vote for?
I voted for Donald Duck. Okay, I wrote him in because that's what this election is.
Are you afraid to tell us that's what it is? Right?
No, I don't care because you're pivoting off my question. You won't answer it.
I'm not.
So then answer my question. Why doesn't California pay a living wage?
John, it's really, really simple. If you can't answer the question, then we can't have a conversation. That's how debates work. All right. I have answered your question. I addressed the fact that the California is addressing their minimum wage. It's incrementally increasing over the next 4 years.
Is it going to pay a livable wage? Is it going to pay a livable wage?
Again, you just said, why aren't they doing it? And I'm saying, yeah, they actually are doing it. So who did you vote for? I'm going to assume you voted for Trump because you're too afraid to answer.
I'm not afraid to answer.
Who did you vote for?
It's just not part of the conversation. You're pivoting to Trump to get away from this debate. It doesn't matter. The election's over.
John, I just answered your question. You asked me why has it can you just stop talking for 30 seconds? I know you like to hear yourself talk, but just stop talking for 30 seconds. You asked me why California hasn't addressed their minimum wage, and I said they actually have. They are incrementally increasing their minimum wage over the next 4 years. Now, will it catch up to the livable wage comparison? I don't know. That's an economic conversation, but it's going in that particular direction. So I answered the question on California. The question
you reframed my question.
I did not. I did not. You said, why did California not raise their minimum wage to address their cost of living? And I'm saying they are doing that.
That's how they're doing it? So wait, can we agree the cost of living right now in California is $50,000 a year?
Where's your source?
Google.
No, Google's not a source, my guy. No, Google's not a source. A source would be
average cost of living in California per month. I'll do yearly.
And then what is your source?
I can't believe you're playing this game. to get out of this.
Well, you're the one that made the claim. This is how I know intelligent conversations are not your sweet spot.
According to SoFi, the average cost of living in California is between 53 and 64,000.
What is SoFi?
Let me click on it. SoFi is a resource from California. I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with California's deal here. You can look.
But you made the claim about California. Okay.
Yeah, sure, that's fine.
You made the claim. Okay.
Yeah,
so then the question is, John.
I'm going to answer your question. You can go to SoFi.com/cost of living in California. If you think that's not a good source, then you can tell me it's a bad source.
Okay. Again, the question that you asked that I answered, and I'm gonna expect you to do the same and answer a question. The question is this: you asked me, why hasn't California increased their minimum wage to address their cost of living? And what I explained to you is, because I answered your question, is that they're doing it incrementally. From where it is now, over the next 4 years, they will be. That's how you do it. You don't just go from $7.50 to $25. You have to do it incrementally. That's what they are doing. So that answers your question, John. Now I know that's not the answer that you wanted. I'm not done.
They're not going from 750. They're not going from 750 to 25.
I know, John. I know they're not. I'm talking about in general. If a state has a $7.50 minimum wage to address their state's cost of living, they're not going to go from $7.50, if that's what it is, to whatever the cost of living target is. Okay?
Why not?
That's just simple math.
Let's do it. Why not? Why wouldn't you advocate for that?
California's addressing it. Why are red states not? Why are they not doing it?
I don't live in a red state, dude. So I don't care. It doesn't
matter where you live, John. California is addressing the issue. Why is it not happening in red?
How are they addressing the issue?
They're not. Because they are raising their minimum wage. Because they are raising their minimum wage. Why are you so focused on California?
Okay, let's use New York then. You want to use New York?
Why we're going to use a red state now. Why are you so focused on California?
Because Democrats want livable wages. Why don't they do it in their states and prove that it works?
Why are you so focused on California though?
Okay, we can move to New York. We can move to Illinois. We can move to any other blue state. Why don't you guys do it?
Let's look at Texas. Let's look at Texas.
Why Texas? Texas is not a blue state.
Minimum wage in Texas is what, John? You know what it is?
Yeah, I don't care. It's a Republican state. They don't want to do it. We already agree.
What is it? So what is it?
I don't care, dude. It doesn't matter. Red states don't want to do it. Here's my answer. Red states don't want to do it.
Red states don't want to take care of their citizens.
Exactly. I agree.
So let's move to red states don't give a fuck. Red states don't give a fuck.
Yep, they don't.
So red states, the Texas minimum wage is $7.25 an hour.
Yep, they don't care about their people. I agree.
They don't. They don't.
So how does California care about their people?
Why does California have the number one economy again?
So their economy is a livable wage? Nice pivot, dude. Go ahead.
That's not a pivot. You're not very
No,
smart. You're not very smart, are you?
Huh? How is their economy being really well affected?
Because it's a desirable place to live.
Okay, what does that have to do with the cost of living and the minimum wage?
You're just not very smart, are you?
So you go to ad hom attacks because you can't have a discussion about this?
No, an ad hom would be if I was making something up. I truly believe that you're just not very smart.
Okay.
I just don't think you're smart. I just don't think you're smart enough. I don't think you're sincere enough for this conversation. Because I addressed the question. I addressed the question that you asked.
No, you didn't.
You want to blame?
You've run from it.
Yeah, I did.
So why? So why are blue states making livable wages?
The blue states are addressing the minimum wage gap because the federal government does it because Republicans vote against it all the time.
Oh no, I didn't. I said why don't they pay a livable wage in blue states? Why don't they do that?
In many states, they do.
Okay, California has the highest homeless rate. Why don't they pay a livable wage?
Because they have the most people.
So of course they have the most people, they can't pay a livable wage. That's your reason. So because they have so many people, they can't pay a livable wage. Good one.
No, do you understand how math works? Do you have any idea how math works? Why does California have the highest houseless population? Why?
The highest housing population?
Houseless population.
Why?
Yeah,
because they have the most social programs.
No, because they have the most people, John.
Okay. People. So why doesn't Florida have, Florida has just as many people, but their homeless rate is by far lower?
Florida has just as many people as California?
Pretty close. I think they're about a couple million off, maybe 6 or 7 million off. Yeah, but their homeless population in proportion to their population is nowhere near it.
Okay, let's see. Florida population is 23.37. Okay, 23.37 million people. Okay.
Okay. All right. Maybe I was off on that number. I'll concede to that. That's fine.
California is like 54 million, my guy. So you missed it only by 25 million. That's fine.
Sure.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah, I'll concede to that. You got me on that. That was a good one.
Okay.
Anyway,
don't make statements about things that you don't know anything about. Okay. This conversation.
Okay.
And this,
so hold on.
How many homeless people?
How many homeless people are in each state? How many homeless people are in each state?
Homeless. It's not the number, John. It's the percentage.
Okay. Well, I just conceded on a number I got wrong.
If there's more, John, if there's more people, there's going to be more incidences of lots of things. It's the per capita. Do you understand what per capita means?
Yes. So how many per capita is homeless
per capita?
in Florida how many per capita, right, are homeless in Florida versus California? What's the per capita?
Let's find out. Let's find out. That's why facts are important. I'll do your work for you. Normally, I would ask you to make the case yourself.
Well, I didn't really want to go into homeless because I think this is getting away from the conversation of why California can't pay a livable wage.
That's not the question. Again, I answered your question. You just didn't like the answer.
It's been my original question, and you still have not answered it. If Democrats run California, why can't they pay a livable wage?
I answered the question for you, John. You just didn't like the answer.
Your question is they have a lot of people. Your question is they have a lot of people.
No, the answer.
And they have a great economy.
No, the question I gave you, the answer I gave you was that they are gradually increasing their minimum wage to address that.
Okay, so when is it going to be a livable wage? When is it going to be a livable wage in California? I want to move in California. When is it going to be livable?
Do you live in California?
No, but I'm going to move there. When is it going to be a livable wage?
No, you're not. So you want so you think it's so are minimum wage jobs meaningful jobs?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Are they? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Do you know why the minimum wage was established?
Do I know why it was established?
Yeah.
What is this pivot off? You answering my question.
It's not a pivot. They're all related. Did you hear me say minimum wage? My question.
When is it going to be a livable wage?
Are we not talking about minimum wage?
Yeah, I asked you. I'm moving to California. When is it going to be a livable wage?
I don't know. Why don't you ask? I'm asking you. I don't know. I don't live in California.
Okay, so shouldn't Democrats take care of that?
In California?
Yeah, they run California. Shouldn't they make it a livable wage? Not progressively?
So, John, here's the problem. Here's the problem with your argument, okay?
You don't
the problem with your argument.
Because it debunks it.
Can you shut up for a second? Can you just try to shut up? Just try to control yourself, okay? If you can't shut up, then okay, try. I know it's hard. Yep. Try. I know I know that I'm devilishly handsome and a lot smarter than you, but I know it's hard. I know you're jealous.
You are cute.
I appreciate that. I know.
You are a good-looking guy for an older guy.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes. Appreciate that. No, thanks. I prefer intelligence. Anyway, the specifics around the question that you're asked, what you're trying to do is you're trying to paint this picture to say that Democrats care about their citizens. And if that's the case, then why are they not just paying them all a minimum wage, universal basic income, so to speak? That's your attempt here. What I'm trying to explain to you is that it is Democratic states that are incrementally moving the minimum wage forward because the federal government, because of the fact that Republicans block legislation every single time the introduction to raise the federal minimum wage, they block it every single time. So then the question I asked you that you've yet to answer is if Republicans claim to care about pro-life, pro-family, why are they not introducing any legislation at all in their states to raise the minimum wage?
Because Republicans suck and they don't get shit done either.
That's true. And you know what else sucks? You. Oh, God. I'm just doing some quick math here. Percentages are roughly equal. 65,000 houseless people in Florida, 135,000 people in California. So that's roughly double. Population's double, so their percentages are about the same. There you go. Oh my God. Holy shnikey. Feral AF. I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Just listening. I was listening to another guy talk, and honestly, I think I know what he was trying to ask, but honestly, it's not my viewpoint, but maybe a little clarification from the outside looking in. Athena,
it's a disingenuous question. I know what he wasn't even attempting to ask a question. He was trying to make a point, and then he failed miserably because he's just not very smart.
Well, Yeah, well, his point didn't go well at all because he didn't get to a point. So, it's pretty unfortunate. But, I think what he was trying to say was, why don't they just make the jump to the 25 an hour instead of the increment? But as you stated, the increment is necessary because it's not a shock to the economy.
Absolutely. That's just basic economics. It's basic economics, right? Yeah, again, that's why I said he's just not smart enough for that conversation.
Yeah, I think it was just a comprehension thing, you know what I mean? And I think he knew what he was trying to ask, but he just couldn't process how to ask it. So
no, the problem is, Farrell, is that I responded with an answer to his question as to what California is doing to address the minimum wage. They are incrementally increasing the minimum wage. Now, as cost of living continues to increase, as things get more expensive under Trump and economic upheaval, it's going to be impossible to make that minimum wage catch up to the cost of living increases. Now, I would love to legislate that. I would love to legislate that. I would love to say, and Warren Buffett talks about this, if at any point during a congressional term, if the GDP falls below 3%, no member of Congress can run for re-election. You want changes? That's how you make changes.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I feel like there's a lot of factors that play into all this that people are just not seeing. So, look, I'm more of a conservative than anything, but I don't identify with like a Republican because I don't value all the things that they try to spew. You know what I mean?
What does a conservative mean, Farrell? Because I'm curious. I mean, when you say you're a conservative, like what does that mean?
I mean, I would say I'm probably more traditional than anything. That's more so.
But what does that mean? What does that mean? Like when you say traditional, when you say conservative, what does that mean?
Well, if we're gonna like, as he was mentioning about the minimum wage thing, and this is just kind of a viewpoint. I do a blue collar work. I work in the oil fields, and I understand your point of saying that minimum wage was established because that is the bare minimum amount that you need per month to be able to live normally. You know what I mean?
Well, do you know when that was established, though? But do you know when it was established?
I think it was right after World War II, like after the Depression, it was established.
No, it was right. It was before World War II. It was right after the Depression, and because unemployment rates in our country were like 25%, and that affected blue collar, white collar, everybody, all walks of life. So the government said, we've got to be able to make sure that people can pay their bills. So they established a minimum wage that allowed people to put food on their table, to pay their gas bill, to pay their electricity bill, right? So that minimum wage has been used, quite due respect, has been used as a conservative talking point to say, oh, that's a low-end, low-skill, low-labor job. That was not the inception. That was not the idea behind the creation of the minimum wage.
And I agree. I do agree with that. I think more so. All right, so I'm gonna use this as an example. So my daughter, she's 19 years old, right? She just turned 19 in May.
I've got one about to be 18, so I got you.
Yeah, so her and her boyfriend both make at least double or almost triple what the minimum wage is on the hour. Okay. So they started off very low.
Work? What do they do for work?
My daughter's a shift manager for a restaurant chain. So
so she works in food in the food service industry.
Yeah. Yes.
Got it.
She's in food service. Right. So she makes a little more than double what the minimum wage is. I would say it's probably around like 16.50, 17, somewhere in that range. Her boyfriend, on the other hand, works for a flagging company that kind of makes, when they're doing road construction, that's what he does. So he's a supervisor. Now, keep in mind, they're both the same age. They're 19 years old, and he's making 3 times the minimum wage, because he now has like a little company truck. He kind of manages a couple guys, et cetera, et cetera. Now, when they started working,
you don't have to give me specifics about what state are we talking about?
Virginia.
Okay, they both work in Virginia, food service and in highway construction. Got it. Okay, got it.
Yeah,
all right,
correct. So here's kind of I think what a lot of people are kind of arguing, but they're kind of missing like their explanation. So my kids. My daughter, when she started working, I think she started off at like $7.50, something like that an hour, right? She literally like was like, she's like, Dad, she's like that's not much money. Like when she saw her check, I said, yes, but here's the thing. I said, currently you don't have any bills, so starting off low like that is okay until you build like a skill set. You know what I mean? And I think that's the focal point of what people try to argue when it comes to minimum wage. Now, that's not what it was established for. We know that. We know that it was established so it's a bare minimum so everybody could pay their bills, right? But with today's marketable, with the way the economy is kind of volatile at any given moment, and you've got high emotions on both sides, what you end up doing is, I think what people are really like kind of concerned with is if, like, you know, as you stated, California is doing an incremental increase over 4 years to bring the minimum wage up. We know that Cali costs more. I've been all over this country. I've traveled everywhere. I love California. I think it's absolutely a beautiful state. I've been everywhere in Cali, and I love it. The Sierra Nevada mountains are absolutely gorgeous. I've been out there a bunch. And I've spent a lot of time in Coronado. So, you know,
let's get to your point. Let's try to land the plane here. So, let's try to land the plane, Frank.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, I kind of wander a little bit. ADD. I'm sorry.
It's all right. I got it. I'm with you.
So I think what people's arguable point is that what they're concerned with is raising a minimum wage to a point to where, like, say what is currently a skilled labor wage, like say if you raise it, and like I'm going to use Virginia by example. Say you raise the minimum wage from $7.25 to $20 an hour. Now you have to increase everybody above that has a skilled labor that has built that $30, $35 an hour wage.
So what?
You can't just let them close that gap. It's going to upset a lot of people.
Why not?
As far as
let me give you the counter, and I still haven't. I want to go back to the question I asked you initially as to what conservative means in traditional. I want to get that. I'll get to that in a second. So, what do you know when I talk about wealth inequality and the wealth gap? Do you know what I mean by that?
I'm pretty aware, but I wouldn't mind you explaining it so I understand. So we're on the same plane.
Okay, so when I talk about it in terms of wealth inequality and then the wealth gap, we have. Are you like a student of history? Like, do you read? Do you like research things? And I'm not trying to insult you. I just don't know what your background is. I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah. So I've got I hold 5 different certifications in between welding and other various things. Plus, I've got 2 college degrees. So.
Okay, fantastic. So we can go back to we use Reaganomics because that is really the point where we started to see this. So when we look at economic policies going through the 50s, the 60s, and 70s, the high end, the top marginalized tax rates hovered around 75, 85, and in some cases 90%. Corporate tax rates were around 39 to 40%. So we agree with that? Do you dispute those numbers?
No, I do not.
Okay, so during that particular time, that was the birth of the suburbs. That's when the middle class was absolutely humming. Where, again, if you're using the term traditional, in the mind of conservatives, that was the traditional, nuclear family. Dad went to work, mom stayed home. I'll talk about it from a civil rights perspective in just a moment. But that was a time that a family could live on one salary. They could afford to live at a home. They could afford to have a car. So what ended up happening is because conservative and corporations who helped fund Ronald Reagan getting elected, Ronald Reagan took the corporate tax rate when he took office from 50% at the end of the Reaganomic years, which was Bush's vice president, so 12 years, went from, I think it actually was 62% down to 28%. So what does that tell you?
So Reagan was in the 80s, correct? I'm not overly familiar with presidential. All right, so
okay, let me just. I'll just tell you the whole story. Well, hang on a second. I'll just tell you the whole story. It's just easier.
Can I just add one little piece to that, just as a factor?
Sure.
So Reagan was in. So Reagan did that to like corporate business in the 80s, correct? So the thing. So here's my thing. We had that massive like economic boom in the 80s. Like the 80s just went crazy. So
it was short term though, because that's about what I'm going to explain to you what happened.
Yeah.
Okay. So the idea behind what that did is, and that's where the wealth gap started to really increase. So because you cut tax rates for the top, marginalized tax rates for the highest earners, and then you cut corporate tax rates. The idea behind trickle down economics that was the Due respect, friend, that was the lie that was told to conservatives, is that when you give corporations tax breaks and when you give tax breaks to the richest among us, that money will trickle down in the economy. That's the exact opposite of what's happened.
Yeah, trickle-down economics never really worked.
Exactly. So that's the argument that we're making on the left, to say this is not. We've got 50 years of this stuff. It's never worked. And guess what Trump's tax policy is based on?
I'm sorry, I missed that. My CV went off.
Guess what Trump's tax policy is based on?
If I'm not mistaken, it's based on that old agenda, is cutting corporate tax and giving tax breaks for them. Yeah. Exactly.
So that's the wealth gap, right? So the money goes to the top and it stays at the top. And meanwhile, the tax breaks for the bottom are incremental, if any, and in many cases, people who make less than $25,000 a year, I forget the exact number, please don't quote me on that, but they're actually going to pay more out of pocket, not only from the tax perspective, but because of the cost of living, because of tariff income, all those kinds of things. So that's what we're talking about. So Again, I want to go back to the question that I asked you. What does traditional mean? Like, what does that mean? When you say, when I asked you the question initially, you said you're conservative, then you said you're traditional. What does that mean? Help me understand.
Well, at this point, and I've been kind of reevaluating what conservatism actually means to me, anyways, and it doesn't seem like I'm aligning to it as much as I think I do. Now, it doesn't mean that I lean one way or the other. Honestly, if you want the real truth of it, I would honestly say that I'm probably right down in the middle. You know what I mean? I don't lean one way or the other. I don't lean right. I'm very, very middle of the road. Just because where I grew up, there's a lot of, you've got a lot of different culture where I come from. Okay. I served in the military. I've done, I've traveled the country. I've done a lot of personal soul searching. After the last couple of years, I've kind of traveled and spent a lot of time with different people. But here's what I'm trying to get to. I don't like the tax bill. I think the tax bill's trash. Who did I vote for last? I didn't vote for. Actually, I voted independent. I just selected a person on the independent section, and I just went about my business because I didn't like either choice. So, as far as that goes, I don't like this tax bill. Now, for what I do for a career, it does give me a tax break that is much, much necessary. Because I do have a lot of expense out of my pocket. It's going to help me in the long run. Because technically, I'm a small business.
Do you make over six figures?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Easily.
So this tax policy benefits you.
To a degree, yes. Which, I mean,
no,
I
never had a problem. Never mind to a degree. It's not to a degree. It does help. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't
that
help
doesn't
other
mean that I
people,
fully
though.
like it, though. Yeah, it
okay,
doesn't mean
so
I fully like it.
You're not, you don't support people losing their health insurance?
No.
You don't support, you don't support kids losing benefits to SNAP, which is basically food?
No, I don't.
Okay. So then your vote matters. So what was so bad, again, tell me what traditional means. Does that mean, let me ask you some probing questions. When you say traditional, does that mean that you believe in a marriage between a man and a woman?
I support marrying whoever you love.
Okay, so what is your tradition then? That's what I'm trying to understand. The reason I'm asking this question. Well, hang on. The reason I'm asking you this question. Hang on one second, Farrell.
Oh yeah.
Farrell, hang on one second.
Sorry.
Hang on.
Yeah,
what I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to understand where your belief set comes from. Okay, that's what I'm trying to understand, because I don't believe, people often they like to say, I'm fiscally conservative and socially liberal. No, you can't be those things, because if you're socially liberal, then you support the expansion of human rights and civil rights. And to do that requires investment. So therefore, you can be fiscally responsible and not irresponsible, but to be fiscally conservative is what conservatives have told voters who've been voting conservative for decades, that apparently conservatives are the ones that aren't spending money, and they're spending money like a teenager. That's why I was asking. Okay, so do you support the rights of marginalized communities?
Yes.
Do you support the rights of the LGBTQI community, for example? Do you support their rights and their rights to exist?
I do,
just to be left?
Yes.
Just to be left the fuck alone?
So my best friend growing up is now trans.
Okay, let's not. Well, I don't want to tokenize. That's great. I don't want to tokenize.
No.
That's great.
It's not tokenizing, because a lot of people that I do know are either they go one way or the other. It doesn't really matter to me, because what I feel is what I would like for people to do is be able to live their life how they want to live it, as long as it doesn't affect anybody else in a negative manner. I would like people to be able to marry who they want to marry. If they want to adopt, they can adopt. It's kind of irrelevant to me. Now, that's what
tokenizing is, though. Farrell, that's what tokenizing is. So I'll give you an example. So when you say you have people in your community that you care about, and you want, you want people's rights, and that's great. That's great. That's all the members of those communities are asking for. Just allow people to live their lives and not have legislation passed. Because your non-vote for Kamala Harris, for example, has potentially helped put us in the position that we're in now. So what was so wrong with Kamala Harris's policies that you couldn't find yourself voting for her?
I honestly, I couldn't align with her personally. I didn't like how she kind of got shoehorned into that spot, because Biden was up for that primary, and then all of a sudden he was removed, and then boom, there she was. It just didn't feel.
But why did that matter to you when she got all the votes? Why did that matter when she got all the Why would that matter?
That's
personally, not really the question I asked.
Like her.
So it's a feeling thing.
I personally didn't like her.
It's a feeling thing. So it's a feeling thing.
No, it's not going to be addressed on feeling, because I personally don't like Trump either.
Okay, but again, it's a feeling thing, though. So do you think? Let me try to ask it this in a different way. Do you think character matters in the people that you vote for?
Yes.
Okay. So then if we were to put the characters of Kamala Harris and Donald Trump side by side, how about this? Let's remove their names, okay? Let's remove their names. You don't know who they are. You don't know what gender they are. You don't know what race they are. You just list all the things on a spreadsheet. Sorry, Obi, I know you're moving in your seat. And you list all the things down, their accomplishments, their negatives, claims made against them, convictions, crimes made against them. Who would you choose?
I don't really have an answer for that.
Yes, you do. You do. You have the answer. You know what the answer is. It's okay to say it.
No, because if I had that answer, it's that you're forcing something. That's why I voted independent. I didn't like either.
I'm not forcing it. I'm just asking you to be objective. All I'm doing is asking you to be objective. That's it. I'm just asking you to be objective. Now you have no reason not to like or dislike somebody. You don't know them. You've never seen them speak. You don't know who they are. You don't know what they wear. You don't know how they dance. You just literally look at their accomplishments. Everything we know about both people is listed out in front of you, and you're faced with that option. You have to choose. You know who you would vote for. It's okay to say it. Nobody here knows you.
Personally, I don't like either of the accomplishments either way. It's not even about the accomplishments. You can be an accomplished
think about
person
what you
and
said,
still
though.
not like you.
But think about what you just said. So you would look at Kamala Harris's accomplishments, right? You would think you look at this. She was a district attorney. She was the attorney general of California. She was elected to the Senate. She was chosen to be vice president. She's a graduate with multiple degrees. All these accomplishments. No evidence of criminality, no fraud, none of that stuff. Those are her accomplishments. And then you put the list down of Donald Trump. Sexual assault, convictions of fraud, everything that we know about him, and you still couldn't bring yourself to vote for Kamala Harris. Again, you don't know who the person is.
No.
You have no idea.
I couldn't.
And
because just in the same concept that I couldn't vote for Hillary. I didn't like Hillary at all either.
It's not about Hillary, Farrell. It's okay. Do me a favor for 1 second.
People are saying it's because she's a woman and because she has melanin. I could give a fuck about either or.
But that's why people are thinking that, because you are stuck on this.
It's been implemented.
Hold on. Hang on a second.
Farrell, because I didn't want to vote for those people.
Farrell, stop for just a second. Okay. I know that. Stop for just a second. I'm asking you. What I'm trying to explain to you is that you don't know the gender or the melanin or lack thereof of either candidate. You don't even have their names. You don't have their party affiliation. You have no idea where they were born, any of that. All you have is their list of accomplishments. And including everything. Their accomplishments on the positive side. Hold on, wait.
If you want an honest answer, if you're looking at a resume,
yeah.
if you're looking at resumes for an applicant, well, because I hire people, so I know what you're saying.
So do I.
So if you're talking about for oilfield work, so that being said, so if I'm looking at a resume and I'm looking at accomplishments, right? If I'm looking at accomplishments, or I'm looking at what someone's done and where they've been and whatever, what have you, and if you take all those factors out of it, then yeah, obviously the person with a list of accomplishments would be your primary choice, right?
Which would have been Kamala Harris.
If that's who it was, then that's who it was.
But that's my point. Okay, so that's my point. So you voted for, as you described it, you voted for a feeling. You voted for a feeling,
no, I didn't.
Right?
Negative.
You did. You told me that. You said
no.
You didn't like it.
I didn't like either. I didn't like either policy. I didn't like either person. There's a lot more than just that. I just didn't like what we were up against, so I just didn't. I voted right down the middle. And me voting down the middle is my right to do so.
I understand that it's your right to do. I'm not questioning that. The question I'm having to ask you, though, is that, so the reason that people in chat are saying it's misogynistic, that's because of the fact opinion. That's like it's your personal opinion who you voted for. That's their personal opinion to describe it however they like. Would you agree?
Fair enough. Yeah. Yep. Okay. Freedom of speech is a factor.
But that's right. But that's why. Well, this isn't freedom of speech. This is terms of service. People can say whatever the fuck they want here. It's not a big deal. Anyway, the reason that people are saying those things is because if you were to be objective, if you were undecided about a candidate, oftentimes you have to make decisions in life that are things called harm reduction. So we know that what Donald Trump is doing and has done previously, and it continues to do, is harming people. People are being harmed by his policies. That would not have happened under Kamala Harris. Would not have happened. Would not have happened. So there's an element to self-reflection to say, I understand at the time, and you still haven't made a good argument as to why you wouldn't just look at data objectively and say, who's going to be more likely, who's going to help more people? Now, if you want to sit there and say, I'm going to be a selfish voter, I like tax cuts for the rich, I can ignore everything else, then that's a character question. Then you have to say, then I'm going to vote for a guy who fantasized about having sex with his daughter, or said he has sex in common with his daughter, an adjudicated sexual predator, all those kinds of things. Those are all things on the character side. I don't know how anybody could ever vote for Donald Trump just because that stuff alone. Never mind, he's a failure as a president economically. There's nothing positive about that guy. Compared to somebody on the other side who's been a public servant, dedicated, elected to the Senate, elected as Attorney General by the largest state in the country, chosen to be vice president, cast the most tie-breaking votes in history, doesn't have anything like that in their past. So when people say you made a decision not to vote for her, that's why they are saying it sounds like some misogyny. And I would agree. It does sound like there's some misogyny connected into that. You may not think that. You may not think that. But this is what we're talking about here. This is why there's self-reflection.
It's not even about self-reflection here. It's the fact that I didn't like either. I didn't like either party. I didn't like anything they had to say. I didn't like the idea. I didn't like the ideology behind either one. And frankly, as soon as the whole 34 felony thing came up with Trump, I was like, yeah, I can't do it. Can't do it. And before anybody gets all excited here, for about 10 years, I voted Democrat in the state of Virginia. I voted for Democrat governors. I voted for Democrat presidents in every concept. So when Trump ran against Hillary, I didn't like Hillary at all. I haven't liked her for years.
Why?
Because I think she's fully responsible for everything. And honestly, it's been proven she's fully responsible for the shit that happened in Benghazi. She let those people. That's not.
Yeah. Actually, that's just Farrell.
Well, they could have already had people in there, but it was because it was a CIA base.
So who did you vote for in 2020?
2020, I did vote for Trump.
Okay, you just proved my point. Okay, so that's the example, and I want you to hear this. I want you to take this. I'm going to move on to my next guest. Okay, you had 3 elections. 2 of the candidates on the Democratic side were women, and you chose not to vote for them because you didn't like them. Then, when faced with the prospect of choosing between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, you chose Trump. You're a misogynist, my guy.
You know what?
Here's the thing. Work on that. See you later. Okay.
Hey.
Hey, brother. How are you?
Good. I'll do a little palate cleanser real quick. For anybody that donates today, $2 or more, we'll be putting a raffle for any T-shirt from the merch store. Every $2 is an entry, and I'll get with you on that after the day. So just wanted to put that out. All right.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. So Fish Trucker's throwing down saying anybody who participates in our $2 donation challenge, because somebody threw that challenge down, anybody who donates today, and if we help us hit our goal, then I will communicate the names of the individuals, if you're okay with that, to Fish Trucker, and then Fish Trucker will pull a name. Okay?
Yep. Every $2 is an entry.
Okay. Dude, you're awesome. I appreciate you. Later, buddy. See you later. Sometimes it takes a while, guys. Like I know, I think we all knew where that was going, but I just think it's important because I'm really hoping that people will maybe grab some self-awareness. I don't know if it's the gift goal has been reset. We have a gift goal, but I have to readjust the live goal. Hang on one second. Let me just do this. Thank you to Sarah. Thank you to Felicia. I appreciate you very, very much for your contributions. Also, thank you to Michelle. Thank you to Brooke. Thank you to Joanne. Oh, Joanne, thank you very much. Joanne, I appreciate you. Joanne, thank you so very, very much. I really, really appreciate you. That's incredibly kind of you to say that I'm an angel. We hit our goal, guys. But I thank you all very, very much. That's incredible. Hearts in the chat for Joanne and everybody who donated, including Savage and Michelle and Brooke. Again, Joanne, Dana, you guys are amazing. Thank you very, very much. I appreciate you. That's incredible. Okay. So I will get the names of everybody connected here, and I will make sure that goes to, if you want to continue, it's fantastic. Love y'all very, very much. I'll make sure the names go to Fish Trucker, and we'll do a drawing, and I'll get with the winners, and we'll communicate all that. So thank you guys very, very much. Okay, let me bring up Farrell, brother. I'm not going to bring you back up, my guy. You kind of proved a lot, and I'm hoping that you can spend some time reflecting on the conversation that we just had. I gave you a lot of free information connected to the past, and I'm just asking you to be mindful of that, please. So here's Misty. I see a lot of friendlies in the box. I'll try to get to you guys. I do want to make sure we get to our unexpected angels. At 10 o'clock, we're going to focus on the individuals that I wanted to talk about today anyway. So, Misty, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
I also live in the great state of Virginia.
Excellent.
Yeah, where Youngkin is really just tearing up our schools here in Virginia. Remember, he lost money for us for the K through 12.
Let me just address a comment real quick. Hang on, Misty. So, Farrell, in your comment, you said, I said I didn't like someone's policies or her behavior, and you said character isn't a factor. You're just proving my point. You just proved my point when you chose not to vote for Hillary and you voted for Trump, even though we had all that information about him. You chose to vote for Trump against Joe Biden. Actually, you didn't vote for Hillary. You didn't vote in 2016. You didn't vote in 2024 because two women were out there running against Donald Trump, and you chose to vote for Donald Trump in 2020. You're the one that said character should matter. You're the one that's got these blind spots that I'm hoping you can address. Sorry, Misty, go ahead.
That's okay. He didn't vote Democrat here in Virginia either. I've dealt with him before. He really liked Youngkin. Really. And I guarantee you he is not going to vote for Abigail Spanberger for governor. I guarantee you. Virginia used to be blue, and I know you know that. We kind of flip-flop back and forth. But Youngkin has done a number. He's helped ban books, and he did it overnight in the cover of darkness. He lost money for the Board of Education here in Virginia, or the Department of Education here in Virginia. He is a rich man that is looking for the presidency himself. And that's what he voted for against someone who wanted to raise, the minimum wage here in Virginia. I don't understand why they do that.
It's just an argument. This is the issue that the right is trying to come up with now. They're so desperate to try to claim that Democrats speak a good game. And you guys all know me. I mean, I can't stand status quo Democrats, which is why I'm a progressive, which is why I want to push hard to make sure that we are electing down ballot progressives so that we can truly make changes to our system. So arguments that libertarians like to make is say, well, how come California hasn't raised their minimum wage to a livable wage? Well, California's addressing it. It has to be incremental, otherwise it's a massive hit to the economy. Blue states, just did the data, blue states are the ones that are progressively raising federal minimum wage. On average, red states have not touched the minimum wage. So what does that say? Right? That should tell you a lot.
Yeah, because Youngkin absolutely doesn't want to raise minimum wage here. You've got childcare workers, like in daycares and stuff like that, coming in making less than like $10 an hour starting out. And they're there all day with the children. They should make at least $15 an hour going in, especially if they have the background in early childhood education. It makes no sense to me that they don't think of that. And he made one point that I wanted to point out. He said his daughter, who is a manager and 19 years old, was making less than her boyfriend, who is also 19 years old. He didn't get what you were saying.
different industries for one.
Yeah, true. The road work is more dangerous and things can happen there.
Yeah.
But he made that point that she was educated and the boy was not.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to have your blatant misogyny called out in front of 1,200 people, but sometimes that's necessary. Misty, thank you for jumping in today, friend. I appreciate you very much. You got it. See you later. Bye-bye. Yeah, it's weird, right? It sucks to be in that position to have your your misogyny called out like that, but it happens. It does happen. Anyway, everyone, please keep tapping. At 10 o'clock, we'll get into our unexpected angels for the day. Thank you all very, very much for your kindness and contributions. Tigfit, how are you today? Tigfit, are you there? Hello? Tigfit? Are you there? I guess not. Okay. Zebo King, how are you today? Zebo, are you there? I guess not. Everybody's got stage fright. All afraid to talk to me. I was just saying, I just realized I have wings. I have to talk to Gregory about that. I didn't realize that's a thing. I just kind of noticed it. Like, wow, I have wings. What do you know? I know some of the names today. You're right, sister. Geraldine, how are you today?
Oh my God. Nobody ever has. Oh, sorry.
Geraldine? It's okay. Did you want a request? Geraldine? I guess not. Okay. I see you, Obi. Let me just get through the box here and I'll bring you right up. Elion, are you there? I guess not. Elion? Okay. All right. Wild. Okay. Here's my brother. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, mythic creature.
Hold on.
Hello there.
There you go. Yes, I know. Seriously.
Right? I've been waiting
It's
to
so
say
funny.
that.
We've been going for an hour and a half, and I just kind of realized it. But that's all right. That's fine. It's all right.
I'm sitting here going, what mythic creature does he look like? Let me roll for intent.
It's got to be Hermes. I'm going with Hermes.
Okay.
Yep. So you and I know who that is, and because we have the smartest chat on TikTok, they know who that is as well. Mercury. Correct. Interesting conversations this morning. How are you?
Wow. Let's unpack a couple of things.
Sure.
So,
does look like Thor's helmet. Thank you. It does look like Thor's helmet. Good call. Yep.
And we know where your Thor's hammer is. Hey now.
Hey now.
I'm this many.
Hey now.
Yep, exactly.
For the guy that was going to move to California. So people don't understand what the word progressive and dynamic mean when it comes to mathematics and the formulas that you have to use in your Excel spreadsheets. Let me pause for a second.
Shifting in your seat.
Hey now.
Because what we are doing here in California is a progressive, dynamic shift in how we bring wages with association, the business community, right? And that's super important. So one of the things that we've done in California said, hey, listen, we get that you want to have business here, and we get that you want to have tax cuts. But the people that work for you at the lowest pay scale have to be able to afford to live here. And your ability to spend money because you've raised all this cash, right, prices them out of the housing market. So you're going to have to agree to the state minimum wages, and you're going to have to get behind it, because when and where you won't get the subsidies via bonds or tax cuts, irrespective of what you're going to build here. There's a reason why Silicon Valley, as an entity, right, as a business entity at all, hasn't really had a dramatic shift since the 70s. People want to build businesses here because of the weather. That's number one. Number two, port access. Super duper important when you're getting equipment and supplies.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, all those economic factors, like you said, there's reasons why California has the fourth largest economy in the world. There's reasons why California contributes $80 billion annually to the federal coffers to pay the bills in red states who can't. Those are reasons. It's desirable.
Yes. Because we figured out how to balance them. Now, trickle-down economics promised us what I just described, right? Was that if we gave these massive tax cuts, companies, in quotes, would be able to afford to lift wages. But after 40 plus years, what we do know is that they only pay attention to shareholders, offshore